Hi, I'm Jordan Fairchild with Spruce Creative Studio, and I am here in my home in Durham, North Carolina to share with you a newly remodeled fireplace that's behind me that I did with my husband.
And I'm Andrew Fairchild, Jordan's partner and resident handyman. I provide the labor to execute Jordan's ideas.
In this series of videos, we'll show you step by step how you too can transform an outdated fireplace into a clean, modern design, all for under $1,000.
So where we left off with our last video, we had completed demo and concrete board installation. In this video, we'll tackle steel frame installation and the mantle. First, we need to cut the steel stud, which is a thin, lightweight beam used for support. Steel studs are appealing to use as they're straight, easy to cut, inexpensive, and non-combustible, unlike wood studs. Measure and mark off the length of your cut. While working with steel studs, you should always work with rubber gloves. Use aviation snippers to cut on either side of the flange, which is the side of the steel stud. Then bend the piece back and forth multiple times. I like this method as it creates a straight edge and I cut less. This short piece that I cut becomes a track for the upright steel studs. Then we attach the track to the underlying concrete board with concrete board screws. We place two tracks next to each other to get the right width for the column. Steel studs are placed vertically by first putting them at an angle and twisting them into place. We used a cheap magnetic level to ensure the studs were straight. Using a stud finder, we determined the wood stud locations within the wall and then attached the steel studs to the wall using number 6 1 1/4 inch fine thread drywall screws. You want to use fine thread when you're attaching steel to drywall. Here's a photo of the framing after we've attached the back part of the columns to the wall. Next, cut the flanges to allow space for the horizontal studs. At joints, use a C-clamp to keep the two pieces of metal together prior to screwing. Here's a better view of the action of the C-clamp. Then use number 8 pan head 1/2 inch sheet metal screws. Here's what the bottom of the columns ended up looking like. And here's the finished product. This will provide the framework for the attachment of cement board. We added horizontal supports every 16 inches on center between the top horizontal studs and the bottom horizontal studs. Next step involves the mantle. We loved the idea of bringing a rich, historical element to the design, so we went to a local salvage yard to find some wood for the mantle. We found a support beam that came from a local home built in 1913. Not only was it perfectly sized for our space, but we love its natural imperfections, from old screw holes to scratch marks. So we cut either side with a circular saw to fit our measurements.
So next thing we're going to do, we're going to prepare this mantle. We've already cut it so that there's about 1.5 inches of overhang on all sides. We're going to start sanding it with a coarse sandpaper, and then we're going to go progressively to a finer grit, and then we'll finish it off with some polyurethane.
So we've finally gotten this sanded down quite a bit after a lot of sanding. I love the rings and the knot, the nail holes. He's gonna sand this a little bit more so that the tones match, so that it's really all one tone before we polyurethane.
We then used a mildly damp rag to get rid of excess dirt prior to adding polyurethane. We decided not to add a stain because we preferred a more natural look with the wood, but we did add polyurethane for durability. When applying polyurethane, don't think of it like applying paint. Instead of going back and forth, use long, fast brush strokes in the same direction. We ended up adding 3 coats. We used a quick drying formula and waited around 1 hour in between coats. In our next video, we'll tackle attaching the mantle, adding the concrete board to the surround, and adding/sanding joint compound.
Here's a list of the products we used in this video. Click on the links below for more videos in this series. Thanks so much for watching. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and my website for more home renovation projects and interior design inspiration.